This is Justin on Monday, September 12th, 2022. Take a look at SPX. So today was a bullish retest gap, just like yesterday was. This being another, or after having three bull candles in a row. Could we get another one? We did. And this one very much turned into a resting day. We still went up, but we ultimately put in a really nice triangle in here. Gave some great opportunities to go bullish and some bearish. So I went through a lot of the options, and I think the 41.25 call that expired today and the 40.75 put that expired today really had great setups with really great risk to reward. And so let's take a quick look at what we could have done with those. So right out the gate, we had a quick move up that pulled right back, just a really quick S curve, and then that just continued to move up bullish. So getting in above this candle and a stop. Now this is the issue. If your stop's going to be right below the candle, it could work. Below this low, maybe. Way down here below the 10, it's a little harder to do. But obviously in hindsight, we can see we had a great move here. If we look over at the option, this would have been getting in about 320 and a stop down about 220. What's really interesting is the open price on the option was way up here. We lost a lot of value on that pullback, but on the stock, or at least on, I say stock, but you know what I mean, but on SPX itself, we had a low here, we made a higher low, but a lot of times the options have premium getting sucked out of them, and so they don't actually reflect that. Even though this was a higher low here, the put actually went higher than the open price, assuming these are all real wicks. But anyway, so this would have been a really nice move. Something like this. If you had held through some of this retracement sideways action, you could have moved your stop up. Easily could have exited on that kind of move, like on this big candle, just get out at probably 6. That'd be pretty easy. So you're in at 320, out at 6 with $100 risk. That was doable. If you had held on a little longer, I'm getting out above the high here, maybe 8, maybe 9. It's obviously not going to run forever. It didn't even touch the 10 through here, continue to break out, and then this ultimately turned into a really nice head and shoulders pattern. And so if you weren't trailing your stop here, you really needed to be over here. That was about the same level on the option. And so your stop should have been around 550, just based on where this was, maybe a little tighter. Probably, well, most definitely stopped out on this candle, or this one still with a gain. But that's just holding on too long for something that had a really nice move right out the gate after another bull day. So giving it a little bit, being a little more aggressive with your entry and with your exit especially is really good to do. So what we went on to do today was, so I mentioned the head and shoulders here, but we had this high, a lower high, a slightly lower high, and a bigger move. And then we ran back up. We had a high, a lower high, another lower high, and another bigger move. So kind of fractal here. And then this did end up coming back up. And it kind of didn't really start again. But I just thought there was a lot of similarities between some lower highs here. You could also have drawn in a shoulder here, and then I had another shoulder. This was pretty high. The candles were really nicely small there for a move back down. That could have worked. This option would not have worked very well for that. This option I was more so looking at right here. This is a really nice high wave candle. And then it's almost an inside camel right after it, and taking that bearish here with a stop up above here. That's keeping with the head and shoulder shape, and this being like a neckline retest. And sure enough, it did actually retest that high and then rolled over. Really quick move. So that would have been getting in here In my notes, I've got getting in at like 1.5 and a stop at 1, or getting in 1.5, a stop at 0.5. Anything like that would have worked and had a really nice move right back up. Um, not quite as far as the open or the low here, but I don't think you would have been getting out at 4. I think you would have been holding, especially with how quick this moved. You could have had a target set at 4 just to get back into these highs, and that still would have been a really nice gain from 1.5 up to 4. May have gotten some positive slippage as it ran up, but that was another really nice setup here, and just really hit a wall, hit this level, this support, and here. And so I was just trying to connect some of these. So this angle here and then the red line here are the inverse angles, the inverse lines here. And then the white line down here was just trying to connect that low and like this low and touch this one. Now we got a little more support here. That's how I drew the red line, but the red line actually, when I inverted it, it came up, and I really wanted to get this low. I was hoping it would hit this one as well, but just shows that we've got a lot of consolidation here, and it's a really good rest day, even though it continued to move bullish. So one really interesting thing I noticed while looking at the options is when this candle came in, it moved sharply or something and took out a lot of the option premium on the call side. So in some of the options, the low of this candle on the option is actually at or below or near the low of this candle. It's like, this is really odd because we're moving up, but the premium is getting sucked out so much that when this happened, it actually dropped the wick on the option lower, like down here than here on some of the options. So we're just grinding up like this and not really getting a directional move like this. This was the one to be in. This is the one to scalp out of. Just get a little bit of a gain and get out of it, because the option's just going to lose value as it just continues to grind sideways, which this ultimately did for a while. It did have a really nice move after this. Some candles here, another push back up. It just moved way too slow. So these setups where you have, a second lower high here, and then directional move, you don't have to get in here. You don't have to get in here. You can wait to get in like this by this, and just let this go. But if it's moving really slow, get out. So that's something you could do. That you could have been buying the 41.25 here as well, buying it like on a pullback like 150. If you had waited to buy on one of those breakouts, that would have been buying at like 2. It really didn't move much. Maybe if you bought at 2, you could have gotten out at like 250, and it's just not very much. Your stop would have to have been around 1. Unfortunately, it was not hit when this candle came down right here, but it was really close. So this was not even a 1-to-1. If we had sharply moved back up, then I think this would have at least retraced to the low here, probably 350, maybe even 4. But that didn't happen. We went much slower, and because we went much slower here, the premium did not get added back in as quickly, and so we didn't even get above really 3. So again, just looking at how the options are moving, looking for this to have been a really nice retracement. I thought there was a chance we'd get right up into the middle of this candle, into these lows today. Not quite there, but enough of a retracement that we need to be really careful that if we have any sort of move down, like a gap down, we're going to trap all the bulls here. We've got today's gap and yesterday's gap that are bullish retest gaps. We should come back and close those gaps. If we gap up tomorrow, look for this to fade back down with a bear candle, come back down, because that'd be a third bullish retest gap in a row. And with the move we had today, this sideways activity, it's entirely possible that we'll put in this consolidation like we did here today, this kind of thing, and get a gap up, move up. But we should at least come back to today's level, probably even further. But watch for something like this to come in where we have a head and shoulders. You can squint and see this as a double top, and then this was like a neckline retest, and then it didn't actually roll back down. Those are some things to kind of look for just because we've played out with some of these patterns. So that's a look at these options. I went through and I listed out a lot of other ones. I went from the 4100 put down to the 4075, and I did a lot more on the bull side. I was looking at the 4080 call all the way up to the 4150 call just to get an idea. How are these moving? What is the range based on a candle like this right near open? How's this thing moving? Especially when it had a great follow through. What could you have done? Um, Obviously hindsight, but it's really helpful to be able to set some real targets off of something like this, but also know that if you're in later, it's going to be harder to have that same kind of move. And the option is going to move totally differently, whether it's right out the gate or if it's later midday. So hope this helps. This is Justin. Thanks.